Hi, welcome back to FAP. Today we are going to be talking about seed dispersal, so how seeds move. So first for the day I'm going to be introducing you to a few seeds, and then we're going to engage with some movement. We're going to move our bodies just like the seeds do as we disperse, as we find new places to grow. And then Ryan is going to lead us into printing techniques to create our own postcards. So what is a seed? A seed is a part of the plant that a plant creates to make a new plant. So if we think about what a seed needs to grow, we often know things like sunlight, right? It needs sun and water and care. But something that often goes overlooked is that a seed needs space. A seed needs its own place to grow. A seed needs space to stretch out and feel that sunlight without worrying about another canopy. A seed needs dirt to reach its roots in so it can suck up that nutrients. It needs space. And if you think about how parent trees, the big trees or the big plants or the big flowers that produce new seeds, we think, how does one seed get from the parent plant to its own space? And seeds have adapted a number of ways. They have created a number of ways, smart little tricks that they have to find their own space. So we're going to be exploring a few of those. The first way a seed breaks open, leaves its parent plant, is just through the sheer force of gravity. So when a seed drops, it can split open. So we're thinking about coconuts. They fall from a very high tree, and just from that impact they crack open, and then they take to the water and they spread somewhere else. Another seed that does that is the acorn. It's not as heavy, but falling off an oak tree, it will split right open. And another way that an acorn travels is actually through animals, and that's another seed dispersal adaptation that seeds have. So oak trees have this really cool trick called masting. So they know that squirrels are going to eat them, and they want most of the squirrels to eat them. That's their trick. But the seeds inside an acorn are very, very small and won't necessarily be digested so that an animal can poop it out. So one technique that seeds have is like an apple seed. An animal eats it, travels a little way, goes for a walk, and then poops out the seed, and then that apple tree has a new home. That apple seed has a new home. This acorn, the seeds are a little too small to digest. So it would just be part of the squirrel then. So it would take it in like it's food. So the acorn kind of counts on a squirrel's behavior to forget about it. So oak trees do this really cool thing called masting, in which some years they'll just keep some of their fruits. They won't really produce a lot of seeds, and then some years it'll be like bam, abundant seeds everywhere. And that means just a few squirrels will be living in the tree because they were remembering from last year, and they just know that there's enough acorns to go around for this many. And then all of a sudden the next year there's tons of acorns, and all the squirrels don't know what to do with all those acorns. So they hide a whole bunch away for their winter, and then they come back to some, but some of them they forget. And the ones that get hidden, the ones that hide, lay dormant, and then in the spring they blossom up and create oak trees. So an acorn is spread through gravity and spread through animals like squirrels. Other seeds that are spread through animals are this black locust seed pod. It's one of my favorites. And this one is spread by birds, the black locust tree. And yeah, so birds will eat some of this and some of the seeds, and then they'll poop them out, and the seeds will find a new home. This is a very funny seed because normally this is a seed that adapted for a special kind of animal to disperse, to move the seed around. But this seed is actually funny because it used to count on giant sloths to move this seed around. And as we know, we don't have giant sloths anymore. So this seed didn't really get the memo, but it's still around. This is the Osage orange, from the Osage orange tree. And this seed, even though it didn't get the memo that giant sloths weren't around to eat this big old fruit, nothing really eats this fruit. No being eats this fruit, but it's kept around because humans have recultivated it. So this is kind of a funny one. And let's see, another way that seeds disperse is through the wind. So some of us know these as the helicopter seeds. These are maple samaras, and they just spin around not too far from their parent plant, probably from eyeline's view, but enough so that they're not under the canopy of the maple samara. This is a sweet gum seed, and this one has other cool adaptations in that it makes it so animals won't eat it because it's all spiky. It protects itself. And one of my favorites is milkweed. Milkweed seeds. So milkweed seeds can travel great distances, like hundreds of miles. And here you can actually see some of the seeds. Let's see. These little black dots here are the seeds, and this is the fluff. This is the pappus of the milkweed, and this helps it so that the seeds can take to the wind and fly away and find new places to grow. Another one that uses the wind but also uses water to disperse is cattail. So this is also fluffy, just like the milkweed, but these cattail beauties grow along the water, so they do use the wind to get going, and then the water takes them to a new place. Another one that uses both water and wind is teasel. This is one of my most very favorite seed pods, and teasel also has some spikies to protect itself. But teasel usually grows along the water. It doesn't have to, but that's where it likes its home. And so these little cones open up and the seeds come out, and then the seeds can travel through water. One last way that seeds can disperse is through fire. So I don't have an actual seed pod that would disperse in the fire, but essentially they look a lot like pine cones here. And so the kind of seeds that would disperse in fire are really thinking about when all the parent trees, all the big trees get burned down, they'll drop their seed pods here, which are normally very tight. This pine cone before a fire would be very tight looking, and the fire dispersal seed pods have this serotinous, it's called serotinous cones, and that means that there's this resin. It's kind of like a sticky glue, nature's glue, to hold this all together, and the only way that resin melts is from a fire. So I think these trees have a really beautiful strategy, and are really thinking about legacy. So even when the parent trees, when the fire takes them, they're counting on their seeds to keep the legacy, to keep the seeds going. So these are the strategies of seeds, and as we think about these amazing ways that seeds find their way to new homes, for spaces to grow, I want us to think about ways in which we can use some of these adaptations as our own. Where do we want to send parts of ourselves that we want to grow so that they can have space to grow into big ideas, so that we can grow into our best thinking, so we can grow to enact some change. And now we're going to get embodied. That means we're going to be thinking of all those things by moving our bodies. So let's move like seeds. Are you ready? Okay, the first way we're going to move like a seed is by being like a coconut or a seed that falls from gravity. So remember, a seed will fall just by the sheer weight of the seed and fall and break open. So for that, we're going to make our bodies fall, so you can start on your knees or you can start on your feet if you'd like. And you're just going to find a way to make yourself fall. So you're going to stay tight like a seed. Maybe you're a tree hanging from the branches, your seed hanging from the tree's branches, and you fall from your heaviness. And you break open and a seed falls, drops out. Okay, another way, if we remember that seeds disperse, is through animals. So we learned about how animals eat seeds and then poop them out and the seeds find a new way home. But another way that seeds find homes through animals is by clinging onto them. So we have seeds like burdock, which are super sticky. If you swipe past them on your clothes, you might have had some on your clothes. And so for that, and they cling onto animals' fur. So for that, we're just going to cling onto animals. So you're going to give yourself a nice cling like a burdock, and imagine you're stuck yourself to an animal and you move with the animal's curves. So as the animal is walking, you're just moving right alongside it. And another way that seeds disperse is through water. So for me, when I'm floating on the water, I imagine just floating on top of the surface. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to lean our backs and we're just going to float. And then you can come back to center. So just float and then you'll bloom. Float and bloom. And the next way that seeds disperse is through the wind, right? So the wind just goes in every direction. So I think of dandelion seeds and their little pappus floating, their little fluff everywhere. So for that, you're going to spread your arms out and grow. And spread and grow. All right, nice. So the last way you remember is fire. So remember, for fire seeds, for seeds that are dispersed by fire, they're first nice and tight, right? So you're going to make yourself tight like a cone, and then the fire comes and all your resin pours out and your seeds pour out. So remember, you're nice and tight like a cone and disperse. So let's try that in a few different orders. So we're a seed that breaks open. And then maybe we're a fire seed. And you stay tight and grow. And then maybe you're a water seed like a lotus or a water lily. And you're flowing. And now maybe you're a seed that gets carried by an animal. Maybe you're a burdock seed. You'll just float with the animal, and now you're a dandelion. All right, you can definitely make up your own moves based on the different elements and the different ways that seeds move. I look forward to seeing your dance moves if you want to share them. And now we're going to create our own postcards to send ourselves, parts of ourselves, like seeds send themselves.
For this activity, I'm going to walk you through 2 different processes of how to make a stamp, and the stamps we're going to make are of a Samara maple seed and a cherry seed. So let's begin. So the first seed that we're going to do a design around is the Samara seed, also known as a helicopter seed. I want to create a background of clouds in watercolor to represent that flying moment that the helicopter seed has. You don't have to do that, but I just did that for fun. Now that we're getting started making our design, we're going to first cut out cardboard. And you want that cardboard sheet to be slightly smaller than the postcard so that when you make your stamp, it all fits onto the postcard. And you'll want to cut 4 of those. Now I'm going to grab a cardstock paper, something thick, that I can cut strips of. And I'm cutting my strips about 1/4 of an inch. You don't want it too thick because if it's too uneven, it's going to not print as well. And you'll see what happens later on if it's not even. So I'm cutting all of my strips the same length and the same width. The next thing I'm going to do is draw out the Samara seed, or again, helicopter seed, so that I have a reference for how I want my paper to sit on my postcard. Once I have the drawing completed, we're going to start curling the paper or bending it into a shape that matches the drawing. You can use a paintbrush or a pen, anything round and slim to wrap the paper around. This is a bit of a challenging process. You'll have to kind of feel your way around the paper to get it to wrap properly. It'll take some time, but once you have it, you just put glue at the end of each end of the strip of paper to get it to hold together, and you'll have your outer shape. So again, I'm creating a curling paper for each drawing that I have in here. So I have the small circle that represents the seed, the outer part that is the helicopter, and then some veins that course through the seed and the helicopter leaf. So now that we've created all 3 parts, we're going to put glue all down that cardboard that we cut out earlier. Then we'll place our strips of paper that we just cut out onto that glued cardboard. So now we'll pull back that watercolor postcard that I did earlier and begin laying down some paint for us to do our first print. I'm going to use green and red. I love in the autumn time when the colors are changing, and these helicopter seeds are right in between going from green to a brown color, and they have that red kind of tint to it. So once you have the paint laid down, we'll just press the stamp into that ink as hard as we can, but not too hard because we don't want to bend the paper. And then we'll press down on our watercolor paper. The fun thing about creating a stamp is that you can repeat this process over and over. Now the next seed that we're going to represent is the cherry seed, which travels by humans or animals. To represent that, I'm going to draw a hand down on my postcard first. Again, this is a step that you don't have to do. It's a good way to create a reference for how the seed travels. The process that we're going to do here for our stamp is to create a cardboard stamp. In this step, we're going to first draw our cherry and seed directly onto a cardboard. And then we're going to find a space where we can carve out the top of the cardboard. Not carve out the whole shape just yet, just that top layer of cardboard. And when you peel it off, you'll see the ridges inside the sheets of cardboard. Then you'll just cut out the whole shape of the cardboard on the outside. You'll once again grab your square cardboard, put some glue onto the back of the cherries that you drew out in the seed, and paste it down to that square cardboard. The cherries are red, so it's natural that I'm going to paint some red ink down. So there are two ways you can apply the ink on your surface. You can put it onto the cardboard cutout directly, or you can put it on a separate sheet of paper. Either way, you just want to cover the entire cardboard with the color to print properly. So now I'm making my first print. I like how it looks. Here are all the stamps I made, plus 2 I made not shown earlier in the day. From the left to the right side, I have violet seeds that travel by popping out from its flowers, cherry seeds that travel by humans and animals eating the fruit and moving the seeds to other places, the samara seed, or helicopter seed, moving from flying in the wind, and the lotus seeds that travel by floating in the water as they fall out of their flower. Before I conclude this video, we have a poem from our samara seed, or as we know it, helicopter seed, that it wrote to its father maple tree.
Dear Father Maple, I hope this letter will take flight and reach you with delight and daylight. Here, it is a black sky night, and the pale white moon is at its height. Neither left nor right, but it sits perfectly between my eyesight. This is just a roundabout way for me to say that I'm doing all right, despite me being away from your light. For now, this letter shall suffice, and next time you will see that I have grown because you let me fly like a kite. Sincerely, Samara Sun Seed.